Hi everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. In today's video, we're going to do a comparison between the 2024 models of the Honda CR-V and the Acura RDX. And this video is based on the fact that a few people have left comments in my videos about the RDX saying that it's a Honda CR-V with some lipstick applied, for lack of better terminology, with some additions basically. And I'm going to show you in today's video that that is pretty much completely untrue. There are a lot of differences. Let's start out with price. First of all, you do have two options with the CR-V, something you don't have with the RDX, and that's the fact that you can buy a CR-V non-hybrid or hybrid. The non-hybrid version of the CR-V starts at $29,500. The hybrid version starts at $33,350. And while you only have one powertrain option available with the Acura RDX, its base price is $40,040. And while there are no significant changes beyond the fact that there's an addition of the hybrid Sport L trim level for 2024 for the CR-V, a change that comes for the RDX for 2024 is the fact that you can no longer get it with front-wheel drive. It's only available with all-wheel drive now, and there are some benefits where that is concerned, but let's take a look at the differences. Obviously, as far as the exterior goes, you can see the chief differences here. They look nothing alike, really. Maybe some minor little similarities here and there, but as far as the overall design of the exterior on the side of the vehicle, completely different. A little bit harder to see some of the body lines here with this white exterior color on the RDX, but you can definitely see that the body lines are very different. What does the front end look like? Well, that's also different. Let's take a look from a different angle. And I likely don't need to say too much here. You can see the big differences in the front end. They look nothing alike. And that's not really a bad thing. It's not that one necessarily looks better than the other. Some of you might say that one does. Tell me which one you like more and why. But one thing for sure here is that both have a sharp stance. They look sporty. They also look, well, somewhat elegant as well, even though the more sporty of the two, I would say, would be the CR-V, and the more elegant of the two would be the MDX. And when it comes to lighting, well, we have quite a bit of LED in a multitude of places. The front grille's both nice and wide. In fact, the CR-V actually has more of a grille as far as size goes. Not that it really matters that much than what we have with the RDX. But you will notice some big differences in headlight design. The multi-jewel LED headlights, the daytime running lights are LED here on the RDX, and you'll have the LED daytime running lights over here on the CR-V as well. One thing that will be different here is you're going to find fog lights on the RDX, and the mirrors also a completely different look. Turn signals are built in, turn signal indicators built into both models, but you'll notice that the RDX has the larger of the two. And there is one thing that definitely separates things apart here, in that you can have power folding, I should say. They are power adjustable as well, but power folding side view mirrors on the RDX. That feature not available on the Honda CR-V. Some people say they'd like to have that. Just depends on who you are, I guess, and what your situation is. And one thing that is also different, a very good view right here on the RDX, you have a panoramic sunroof. As of right now, there is no panoramic sunroof available for the CR-V, but when you have one, it's going to be the conventional size. And as we work our way back here to the rear, a completely different look, basically the same thing as we saw at the front end. They don't look anything alike back here. The rear window, a little more narrow, but still just as easy to see out of with the RDX. A little bit more height here with the rear window on the CR-V. And you can see that the roof lines are different. A little bit shorter look here with the RDX compared to the CR-V. Both have very nice lines from front to back, but you can see that there's a little bit more of a slope here with the RDX. Obviously, the tail lights in a completely different area for the most part here with the RDX. Things working their way up a little bit higher, kind of connecting almost or ending at the rear roof spoiler right there. And then exposed exhaust right here. You will find the exhaust outlets on the RDX. If that's something that you like, well, you don't have that here, although you do have the exhaust right there. It just doesn't come through the rear bumper the same way on the CR-V. And let's talk about powertrains. There is one option available with the Acura RDX, the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It makes a plentiful 272 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque, and something that is most certainly going to separate these two apart is the fact that the transmission option, while it is only one option, it's not a CVT, it's a 10-speed automatic transmission. And depending on if you go hybrid or non-hybrid, let's start non-hybrid with the CR-V. That's going to be the 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It puts out 190 horsepower, 179 pounds-feet of torque. Or if you go hybrid, you're going to have the combination of the dual electric motors and the 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. All of that combined puts out 204 horsepower and 247 pounds-feet of torque. Transmission-wise, you'll either find non-hybrid, the CVT, or the eCVT with the hybrid version. Tell me what you think about that. What would you choose depending on transmission? Because I know a lot of you don't like the CVTs. I'm always curious to know what your thoughts are. And one thing I mentioned earlier is that the RDX is now for 2024 only available with all-wheel drive. The CR-V comes standard with front-wheel drive, but all-wheel drive is available on all trim levels. So just in case you were wondering, and something else that definitely separates these two apart, I didn't really touch on this earlier, but when you look at the differences in the designs of the hood, there are literally no similarities here. And how about towing capacity? There are people who want to know about that, so I'm going to throw those numbers out there for you. The CR-V has two different numbers. If you go with the hybrid CR-V, it tows up to 1,000 pounds. Non-hybrid tows up to 1,500 pounds. And 1,500 pounds will be the singular number for the RDX. Cargo capacity on the RDX, 29.5 to 58.9 cubic feet, quite a bit of space. And depending on if you go hybrid or non-hybrid with the CR-V, there are 36.6 up to 39.3 up to 76.5 cubic feet. And with the CR-V, if you go non-hybrid, you'll have a spare tire. If you go hybrid, you will not have a spare tire, you will have a tire repair kit. And we'll start with the back seat of the CR-V. There's one big difference here between the two, and it's going to be found right here in that the CR-V's rear seats recline. You can see how far they recline with where I put everything right there. We'll have the fold-down armrest with the cup holders built in. I'd like to see more car makers, SUV makers, whatever you want to say, put the cup holders right there because, well, you still have an armrest, even when there are cups or bottles in there. And in this case, we will find the dual USB ports and the rear air conditioning vents. And as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have the conventional size sunroof. And you can see that the seats, even themselves, the door panels, everything here, don't look anything alike between the two models, no matter what year of the CR-V people may compare the RDX to. And you'll even see that the fold-down armrest, the cup holders, are not in the same position. And we'll look right here. Notice that when I use the release for these rear seats, they only move forward, they don't move back. So you don't have the ability to recline those, but there is a big difference too. The panoramic sunroof, something I know a lot of you would like to see on the CR-V. Maybe we will in the future, I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. And a little bit more in the way of accessory back here, air conditioning vents, USB connectivity, and the buttons on each side to turn on or off the heated seats. And when it comes to the front seat with the interior, here is what you're going to find with the CR-V. And you can go with the 7-inch screen or the 9-inch, depending on what the situation is, what trim level you buy, how much money you want to spend for that matter. And you can see the basically the same platform as the Honda Civic. The 11th generation Civic is what we have here as far as everything goes. One thing that will be pretty much the same will be the rear view camera. Now that flickering effect, I like to mention this in my videos just so people know, that is based on my camera. It's not really happening, just so you know. But you do have the multi-view rear view camera. You'll see basically the same look in both vehicles. Here is our dual zone climate control. We're going to have our connectivity right here with the 12 volt and the USB options right there. And something that will be different is going to be all in this area right here. One thing that is very similar but not identical to the previous generation of the CR-V and the RDX is that the shifter is located here, but it's not a conventional shifter like this. It is push button. Just so you know, there are some differences where that is concerned, and you can see everything else that we have here as far as the CR-V goes. And no comparison to any CR-V when you look across the dash area. But one thing I did talk about is the differences in the style of shifter and the location for that matter. With the previous generation of the CR-V, you still had the conventional style shifter, but it was located in this general area. But still, the dash and everything just doesn't look the same, especially the driver's dashboard right here as far as the instrument display, the driver's display goes. Also the same thing with the steering wheel. A big difference here. And I think a lot of people may go in favor of the CR-V here is that you don't have a touch screen. And you might wonder, why is that? It's because of the distance away that it is from the driver. Everything is controlled via the trackpad right here. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way it is. Once you get used to it, I don't think it's a big problem. You have multiple driving modes in both models, but in the RDX, we have ventilated seats available. That is a big deal right there if you live in Northwest Louisiana or somewhere in the South in general, especially during the warmer times of the year. Now, we will find our connectivity options right down here. We also have a wireless charging pad, things you can have with the CR-V, but they're going to be located up in this area instead, just so you know the differences. And here's what things look like with the cup holders. Overall, really no similarities, very few, if any, between the two models. And remember what I said about the rear view camera, pretty much they look the same. Well, there you go. Now there is a difference here in that you have the overhead 360-degree view with the RDX, but just so you can see, that's what we have as far as the cameras are concerned. And what about differences in the remotes? We might as well cover that as well. The Honda remote is on the left. The RDX remote for the Acura is on the right. And you can see that they both basically have the same functionality, just a completely different look with both. Not a big deal where that's concerned. The good thing, I know a lot of you like to know about it, yes, both do have remote start. So tell me what you think. It's easy to see the differences between these two models. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier, if you want the best gas mileage possible, well, obviously the CR-V hybrid wins out where that is concerned. If you want the most horsepower, the RDX is going to win on horsepower and torque. And obviously, the favorable 10-speed automatic transmission, at least based on what a lot of you tell me in the comments section on these videos, compared to a CVT or an eCVT. So tell me what you think. Which model do you prefer and why? What will be the deciding factors of what you choose? I'll leave links down in the description of the video for each model as long as they're in inventory at Holmes Honda and or Acura. Well, those links will take you right to these vehicles. So I do want to say a special thanks to my friends at both dealerships for loaning me both for the day so I can tell you about them, give you this comparison video, and a special thanks to each and every one of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video and haven't subscribed to the Vehicle Visionary YouTube channel just yet, please consider doing so. And if you would like to learn about additional vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, please check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.